What's going on, creepy people? This is Zero Gravity, the resident scary movie sister here at Big Old Belt Media, and we're at Comic-Con today, and we are going to get up there into the atmosphere. Today, I am joined by TQ Jefferson and Eugene Elkin, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Alien Rogue Incursion Part 1 Part 1 Evolved Edition. Let's get into it. Okay, we have limited time, and I certainly have some questions for y'all. So bringing a VR exclusive Alien experience to a console and PC platforms is not the easiest thing to accomplish. So I would like to know, what was the biggest challenge in translating that to a more traditional platform?
Yeah, so one of the challenges, of course, is staying faithful to original game and yet making it still enticing, because the way that people play VR is different. VR is slower. You can't spin around really quickly. Hence you can't respond to a threat as quick. So just the speed of the way the action plays out and where the threat comes from has to evolve. The way you shoot weapons, the way you aim, everything is different. So when we want to retain the feeling and the threat and the dread you could be experiencing while walking through an environment, that same fear, and yet giving you the empowerment of, because you're Zula Hendricks, you're an ex-Colonial Marine, and you're able to handle a threat that's coming to you. So finding the right balance has to be different for non-VR versus VR. And I said that probably the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah.
But I think it's not all challenge. There is some benefit and some gain in going to PC and console. It's that, we get to really retain or even plus the fidelity of the experience. So in VR, it seems obvious, but in VR, you're rendering everything double, one for each eye. Once you go to PC and console, you get a lot of that graphics power, that CPU horsepower back. And we pump that into things like miasma, reflections on surfaces, that sort of thing, so that the world feels more vivid and more alive. So, there are all these, considerations, like Eugene was saying, but there are some real benefits from moving to this platform as well.
Yeah, the miasma that TQ is mentioning, because we have so much more horsepower to play with, it's crucial, miasma, first of all, in the Alien universe, because that's something that conceals the Xenomorph in plain sight, essentially. You can be hiding right 2 meters away from you and you wouldn't even know it. Now the miasma is actually physically simulated. As somebody traverses through it, you will see it roll and move around, and you will see still air essentially moving in front of you, essentially teasing that there might be a Xenomorph or might not be a Xenomorph in front of you.
Right. That's interesting. I think that's a really interesting piece of information, having you guys talking about it here today, because this question that I had is a question that a lot of fans have. And there is a little bit of nervousness behind it, like how is this going to translate? But it's really cool to realize that this is actually kind of a fun challenge of figuring out, how we can translate these things in different mediums. So let's talk about lore a little bit, because this is a lore-heavy IP, and fans are going to do what fans do best, which is dig. So Alien Rogue Incursion features Zula Hendricks, who is absolutely a fan favorite character. How does her story unfold in this new game, and how important was it for you to tie in her character into the wider universe of the Alien IP?
So when we originally concepted up this game, we wanted to have essentially our love letter to Aliens, the second film. And in that, we want to have a player character that is skilled and can push back. And it's not just running and hiding, but actually taking on the Xenomorph like face to face. So as soon as we made that decision, Zula Hendricks was a lock as our lead character, because she's she's actually the premier Xenomorph hunter in this universe by default, because she's the only one going after them. So it was super important that she was our lead character. And I forgot the rest of the question. I'm sorry. Both.
How does it tie into the greater Alien universe?
So in terms of narrative tie-ins, what we did was we took bits of lore from like even Isolation, where there's a company called Gemini Exoplanet Solutions. It's a minor role in that game, and we took that and really expanded it out and brought them into what we're calling the bioweapons arms race that's happening in space. So we got to really flesh out what that aesthetic looks like, what they're doing, what the mission is, and just sort of creating and broadening the conspiracy of the xenomorph and the mystery behind it, and what corporations are doing to exploit it, to make profit off of it, and how Zula has made it her singular mission to prevent any xenomorph from ever reaching Earth, from them being exploited. And if she could take down a corporation or two at the same time, that's a bonus for her. The great part about all of that is that the collaboration with Disney and with 20th Century Studios is that they're super open to expanding the franchise. So when we're talking about expansion, like we created our own planet. LV354 is something that's original to us. We created this facility, Castor's Cradle, and all these new characters. And they were just really excited to have partners that are going to not just try to tell a new Ellen Ripley story or tell a new story with an existing character, but to push into some new areas and new space and new experiences.
That's exciting. I think this is the best place to reveal this type of information because, like I said before, the fans are going to fan, and we are on the floor right now at San Diego Comic-Con. So I know that you guys have been talking about this all day, probably for the past week as we gear up for the con here. But what's been the best response? I want to know what the fans have been letting you know. What's the best response from fans and the alien community since the announcement? Any inkling of excitement that's maybe help motivating you guys for this release?
Part of this is more of a behind the scenes situation, but as part of the development process, we play test the games all the time. We bring in people to play games, and just to watch them play, get their feedback and so forth, and seeing people get jumping in their chairs as the xenomorphs are attacking them.
Yeah.
That's we live off of that. Having people say this is too scary for me is stuff that we live off of. It's super fun. So for me, it's just like hearing that sort of reaction, hearing that response from the fans is like it means we're doing something right.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting to bring it to a wider audience. Last year when we released the VR version of Rogue Incursion, there was a lot of fans. I mean, it had a great reception, but a lot of people who don't have access to VR headsets were kind of left out. So there were a lot of fans, asking to get that experience for non-VR hardware. So we are really, really excited to.
I've been scratching at the windows
release
for so long,
Yeah.
and now I finally get to be let in.
Yeah.
No, excellent. All right, so on that same topic, I have another specific question for you, Eugene. But alien games in general have a reputation for having really, really smart computer intelligence, and the intelligence that it puts onto our xenomorph character, which is most likely going to be stalking us or coming after us in whatever way, is what gets the fans talking first. So I'm curious, how did you refine the enemy behavior to keep players on edge in the newest edition, to keep up with the reputation that alien games have of really smart threats?
The good news is the backbone of its intelligence is still there from the VR it's retained. There was a lot of time, a lot of time that went into its navigation. How does it traverse an environment? How is it able to get to you? We never spawn a xenomorph behind you or even in the room with you. They truly exist. They're simulated in the environment, and they may traverse huge environments just to get to you because they're hearing sound. It's like smelling blood, like a shark in the water, and they're coming to you, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to find you. Other times they just exist. They might have heard a noise. They're investigating. Sometimes there's packs of them. So all that is there, and it's been refined because we have made a move to flat screen. The twitch reflex of a player is a lot quicker, so they have to be even more lethal.
Okay,
They're faster. They stalk the player a lot more effectively now. They will not always attack. They will wait for an opportunity where they can actually group up, and sometimes they will just be lingering in the environment right next to it because like, oh, that's a good little cubby hole. I'll just wait for him to cross here because they'll create a tight point where we can attack.
Yeah.
So all these new maneuvers create a more intense, challenging experience for a player.
Oh, that makes me sweat just a little bit, just thinking about the horrors that are going to come as soon as I boot up this game. But for returning VR players, is there any new additions, or will anything surprise them that they haven't seen in the original to what's going to come next?
I think overall the experience it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much catered for as a first person shooter essentially, but retaining that horror and anxiety element.
Yes.
It presents you a different challenge, whereas you played VR for the full immersion, when you took things much slower. Here, the game is moving faster. There's the Xenomorphs are more challenging. They're doing new things. They're essentially creating, because the system is dynamic. There are a few kind of scripted moments in the game, but the rest of the experience is very dynamic experience in terms of you can walk through the same room multiple times, even in VR version, and get a different combat experience because Xenomorphs are doing something completely different. This is even more present in this version of the game. So essentially, both versions are great, and it depends what you feel like. Do you feel like being super immersed, the kind of just super anxiety inducing that you get in VR, or do you want to have an action horror experience where you're running around and feel super empowered, where every action can be punished if you're not careful?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we talk about in game development, a game development term is the 3 C's, camera, character, controls. And those are the things that we touch primarily bringing it from VR to PC console. So what they'll see is that you'll have a more nimble Zula than what was in VR, because VR is really, we have to keep people comfortable in the headset. So that means, Eugene's point, that you're moving at a more deliberate pace. And we also know that, shooting a weapon in PC console, those players have mastered that ability. So how do we keep that interesting? So having a more nimble Zula, having a more deliberate and intelligent-seeming Xenomorph with slightly different behaviors, you ratchets up some of that tension and that aggression and that adrenaline, but it taps your adrenaline, but in a slightly different way.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I like hearing the differences between these two versions of the game and how different they actually are. But that being said, Survios is known for pushing just immersion. Immersion is what we know that we're going to get. So how does Rogue Incursion fit into the studio's evolving philosophy of gameplay and also narrative design?
So Rogue Incursion is in many ways the culmination of everything Survios has learned from its earliest days, when it was founded in 2013. If you look at the games in our history, Raw Data, Sprint Vector, Westworld, Awakening, Walking Dead, there are bits of DNA from each of those games that are contributing to the experience that is Alien Rogue Incursion. So I'd say it's sort of our master's thesis in terms of creating immersion, bringing together all these different mechanics, this technology, and then taking that and then making the leap to PC console is probably our boldest step yet as an organization, moving into a much bigger pond, as it were. So I think it's just the start of where Survios is going, a more mature, a more evolved, sorry, pun intended.
There we go.
Survios. So I think what you'll see is this is the start of getting better at telling narrative, getting stronger at presenting a world, but maintaining sort of that immersion, that fidelity, the essence of what we've mastered in VR.
That's awesome. I think players have a lot to look forward to. And I love hearing about just the involvement of Survios in general, and how all these different pieces lead up to this final super evolved project. I think that the fans are going to have a lot to chew on for a while after this. So the last question that I have for you all today is just another question for the fan getting into that lore, but how closely did you work with 20th Century to ensure that the game remain canon? Because that's a word that walking around the Comic-Con floor for
Oh,
the
yeah.
past 2 days, I am hearing a lot.
Yes, yes, very, very closely. It's actually been a tremendous collaboration with the 20th Century Studios games team and the larger organization Disney and the studio. We talk to them weekly. We talk to them daily sometimes in terms of creative ideas. We're thinking about doing this, or we're thinking about going this direction with the story and the characters and so forth. And they're never in a place, or they never put themselves as the gatekeeper. They're there to facilitate and make sure that we're staying on brand. And if we put something in front of them that maybe doesn't quite align with the IP, their first reflex isn't to say no, you can't do it. They're like, well, what are you trying to get at? What are you trying to make or say with this feature, this piece of art, this whatever, this asset? And we talk that through with them, and they're like, okay, this is how this could fit into the IP, right? Here are 5 different ways that maybe you could fit this into the franchise. And then we take that and we make our tweaks and so forth. So it really makes sure that it's from soup to nuts aligned with the franchise. We know where we are in the timeline relative to Romulus, relative to Alien and Aliens, and just in our storytelling and the look of the world, the aesthetic. We just make sure that we stay aligned with the point in the world that we're trying to target.
Yeah, I think the key here is we work truly as partners, and it wasn't like here's a thing and then we kick it up and we get it approved or declined. And because we worked as partners, we created a truly authentic experience, which was our #1 pillar. So of course there's multiple pillars regarding to Xenomorphs and the combat, but the one to the overall experience was true authentic alien experience.
100%.
That's the best news that we could possibly get this weekend. Well, you heard it here first. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I have been chatting with TQ Jefferson and Eugene Elkin. If you have the chance, I would highly recommend, especially after all the information that we've learned today, checking out Alien Rogue Incursion, Part 1 Evolved Edition. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for having the chat.
Thanks for
And I
having
hope
us.
you
Thank
enjoy
you.
the rest of your Comic-Con weekend.